Okay, so in this tutorial, we're just going to speak in a little bit of detail about APIs, what they are, and just some basic terminology I want you to be aware of or to understand before we actually start writing code to talk to an API. Okay? So first of all, what is an API? Well, as I said, an API stands for an application programming interface. You can send a request to an API and get data back. So an API almost is like a server somewhere. It is a server on a computer over the internet, and you can speak to an API to get data back. So as I say, we can talk to APIs and get back data. This data typically comes in the form of something known as JSON, okay? So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. That's not really important. What matters is that you understand it is a format, and JSON is an easy to read format. So you can talk to APIs that already exist. So for example, there are weather APIs where you can get the weather, as I say, weather conditions in Florida, Texas, maybe Calgary. You can actually get the latest Bitcoin price if you want to speak to a Bitcoin API. You can even make your own API if you know a server-side language such as Node.js. So the key point is that an API is a server somewhere. You can talk to it, basically say to the API, hey, I want to get data. You can get data for Bitcoin, for stock prices, for weather, okay? So it allows you to make really cool applications. So here are two examples of an API endpoint. So I've said to you, you can speak to an API. APIs will have different endpoints, okay? So for example, there's one API called catfact.ninja/fact where you can actually just get a random fact about a cat, okay? There's also a Bitcoin API where you can get the Bitcoin price, the latest price for Bitcoin, if you hit that Bitcoin API endpoint, okay? So just to recap, an API stands for an application programming interface, and you can talk to an API to get back data. The data will typically come back to you in the form of JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's just a formatted data, and APIs will have endpoints. They're the endpoints that I often use the term we speak to, okay? When I say we speak to, we're basically writing code to send a request to the API to get data back. And then, like I say, what is JSON? Well, JSON is the format of the response we typically get nowadays. Most APIs will send back a response in the form of JSON, most but not all. So as we've said, JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And really, it's basically a string of data that looks like an object or an array of objects. It's not really, but it looks like it. And it's very easy to work with and easy for the human eye to read, okay? So that is what an API is. We speak to an API to get data. It comes back in the form of JSON. Okay, awesome. I'll see you in the next tutorial.